I'm afraid I don't have a PowerPoint, so all you get to see is my face. The choice is you look at me here or look at me there. I can't claim a great deal of knowledge of finance or investment, and for that matter, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would say you don't have much knowledge about early childhood development either, and which would be a fact. In my approximately 25 years since I stopped being a chemistry teacher, I have engaged with communities in basic education, adult literacy, early childhood education, and so on and so forth. One of the things very early I learned is, and I endorse what Amarjit was saying, is that communities are important and you cannot ignore the communities, which is something that I'll pick up on a little later. Is that when you challenge communities to create their own services, they do come forward. It's a question of how do you really enable them to do that. I'm going to talk about three things. One is the government services part, the second part, communities and family, and the third part is about other needs, and then related to the role of private funding, if at all. First of all, I must say, I think most people here feel that private funding is no alternative in any way to a substantially increased public spending around the globe for the care of our children. There's absolutely no question that government funding, public funding is going to be required. Now, whether you do it by cash transfers directly, indirectly, and all that is a matter of debate. But the bigger problem today is that we don't have enough government spending. And so that needs to be taken care of. I also endorse Amarjit's point of view that unless you have an efficient and an effective public service delivery system, all this extra funding is not going to mean much. Money can't buy the kind of quality that you require, and I think that's well known. We were seeing that in the school education system, that very large numbers a huge amount of funding by what we were doing 10 years ago is available for school education today, but that doesn't mean that we're getting the kind of learning outcomes that are required. Of course, there could be debates about what kind of learning outcomes, but I think everybody agrees that the learning outcomes are not good enough, whichever way you look at them. And there are a lot of things that need to be done. What is interesting and scary at the same time is that in India, because, and I can't say, it's happening in the early childhood care and development area as well, but the numbers are very clear in primary and upper primary education. In India, I'm afraid it's probably true of the rest of the developing world gradually as well, is that today, and we've been watching this move over the last 10 years through our annual status of education report, is that today nearly 35% children of India in the elementary education age group, in spite of the Right to Education Act, go to private schools. Whether you call them shanty schools, bad schools, good schools, but parents have chosen to put their children in those schools, and the percentage is extremely high in some states and especially in the urban areas. What this is doing, I mean, we always knew that the middle classes and the upper classes send their children to private schools. But this change, when you talk about 35%, it's a huge number. In a state like Uttar Pradesh, in the rural areas, villages are divided down the middle. I'm not saying everybody in villages is poor, but down the middle along caste lines, and 50% children, the percentage of children in Uttar Pradesh rural going to private schools is about 48%, which means every village nearly is divided. I won't elaborate on that too much, I'll run out of time. Where I live now, I've got a little house in Pune, in the area called Baner. My whole street has something like 4 or 5, I think, daycare and early child care centers meant for the children of all the middle class young families that have moved there. And they are investing, and there are a lot of people around here who are saying that we can invest because those who want to pay and avail of these services will actually create that provision because there is no other alternative. What that is doing, I'm all for giving good child care to all children, but I think it's deepening and creating a very deep divide, and you've got to think seriously about this. The private investments can play a very positive role, but they can play a very negative role as well. And I think you've got to be really conscious of the negative role that you could play by doing certain things. It's not about regulation. How can, there will be all the best private school, daycare centers and so on. But this country and most developing world, our children, they are in need of protection, of nutrition and good care and opportunity to learn. If that is not accepted in practice, then we are in a lot of trouble. Now the question is, can private investment play a role in helping the government services become more effective and efficient? How can that role be played, and what is the best way of doing it? I think there are several ways. We just heard one way of doing it, and there could be many ways. We've been working with Anganwadis in Bihar, Anganwadis in Delhi, Anganwadis elsewhere, where we send out a volunteer and who tries to help doing things. But that doesn't mean we are fixing the problem. There is a need to create alliances so that the government comes forward and private bodies come forward, private meaning either investors as in money or investors as in talent, and work together. I don't have a case study to cite, but I think this is easy to do if the government really opens up. And the question is that it not always is ready to do that because of the traditional mistrust between the two. I want to shift gears. All this that we're talking about, I think the underlying feeling, I don't know what the word is that all this is about giving institutional care, that the government is going to provide or somebody is going to provide that care. And I think in the bargain we lose out completely. I'm not saying everybody is not thinking about it, but what we lose out on is the role of the family, mother in particular. And I think there is a cause to be made to invest in mothers to be, fathers to be, right from youth. And whatever I heard about the adolescent care and so on, I think that is the part where we have not focused. The child is going to spend maximum amount of time with the mother for at least the first 2 or 3 years before he or she finds a feet and starts running around. So I think, what are we going to do, and have we done enough to enable the mothers to first of all take care of the children? The government can't say, I will take care of your children and not take care of it and not enable the mother either. I think the first thing is that the parents would like to take care of the child, and what is happening here is institutionally the states have said that they're going to take the responsibility and they're not taking the responsibility. In the bargain, we are also weakening the primary ownership and support that the child has. And I think there is a need to strengthen the family structure, especially the learning of the mother. I'm not using the word training. I don't like that word. But anyway, the learning of mothers to be able to take care of their children, whether traditional ways, modern ways, I don't know, but that is something that we are missing, I think, that needs to be taken care of. Finally, I don't know how many minutes I have left, none. Finally, I think there are simple things that my children had that the underprivileged children don't have, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Imagine children getting books every month, one book every month. How much is it going to cost? Toys are, and it's funny, children like to play with spoons and all kinds of things in the house, but you still want to give them toys for some reason. Let's say toys and equipment, and if you were to say that we want to give, let's say there are 20 million families who have 0 to 3-year-old children in their homes. Just take a number, I could be wrong. Shiva will probably correct me. So 20 million children, and if you say I'm going to give $10 worth of material every year to this family, you're still talking about only $200 million. That's not a large sum of money considering what is spent otherwise. So giving children simple things that are in your home, having a literate environment, having some other things in the home, not in a community center, at home, is extremely important for the child. This is something that is also being missed. I hope some of you here hear me out, you heard me out, and think about this. Thank you.